After the tragedy at Maryvale High School and the school in Minneapolis, the issues regarding school safety continues to drive a nationwide conversation. Is there anything that can be done to solve this problem? Plus, with cases of measles on the rise, how can the state stop the virus in its tracks? And could this be an end to mail-in ballots in Arizona? It's all that and more this evening on Broomhead. Welcome, I'm Mike Broomhead. Before we jump into today's interviews, let's take a look at some of the top stories. Let's start with the idea of having a state holiday for elections. We're going to talk to Adrian Fontes, the Secretary of State, about election integrity and mail-in voting. But what about having a state holiday for Election Day? On that Tuesday, should you all be able to have the day off to vote if you want at the polls on Election Day and to watch results come in? And should it be a state holiday? I think it's an interesting prospect, especially for someone like me that likes to go to the polls. But with the advent of everything else, is it something that should change? Now, a new command post was just announced for a sector of the U.S. military. In today's Political Minute, News Nation Chief Washington correspondent Blake Berman has the details.
A new home for America's Space Command. I'm Blake Berman, host of The Hill on News Nation. On Tuesday, President Trump announced that U.S. Space Command headquarters will be moving from Colorado Springs to Huntsville, Alabama, which is nicknamed Rocket City, known for its role in building the first rockets that helped U.S. astronauts reach the moon. The U.S. Space Command is responsible for U.S. military operations in space. It was established in 1985 before being dissolved in 2002 amid the War on Terror. In 2019, in the first Trump administration, it was reestablished. About 1,700 people are directly assigned to Space Command headquarters. Another 18,000 are Joint Force personnel who coordinate activities between the Space Command and other branches of the U.S. military. The president says Space Command will be crucial in protecting U.S. space assets and detecting threats to the country. I'm Blake Berman, and this is the News Nation Political Minute.
I think this is fascinating. Will the Space Force be something the American people support? Do we see the vision that outer space is the way to detect and protect the U.S. and all of its interests? Does it send a message to those that would harm us, with Russia and China and North Korea and the Iranians forming an alliance? Does it send that message to them that we will be prepared to defend our nation and will do it from outer space when necessary? Very fascinating concept and one to watch for sure. Coming up, school safety continues to be a big issue across the country. Is there anything that can be done to stop these incidents from happening in the future? We're talking with an expert next. It's important to recognize and thank the fine Arizona men and women who are serving in our country's military. One of the ways we like to do that is through a segment called From Arizona for America, brought to you by my good friends at Sanderson Ford. So join me in honoring Hospitalman Sierra Yazzie, a native of Winslow, Arizona. She's aboard the Naval Health Clinic Cherry Point in North Carolina. For a list of more of our friends and neighbors that are from Arizona for America, go to the Broomhead tab at cw7az.com. All right, welcome back. School safety has been an issue across the nation, and after the recent happenings at Maryvale High School, it's a big issue here. Joining us now is Kenneth Trump. He's the president of the National School Safety and Security Services. I know you were just here in Phoenix on this topic, and thanks for coming on the show.
Good to be with you, Mike.
Now, we know the difference between Minneapolis and an incident that happened in a school with a fight that ended in a death, but we still know that weapons are still an issue when it comes to schools. Is there an overall opinion from you on how we address these school safety issues?
Well, the key thing is, first of all, to put it in context, the vast majority of kids don't carry weapons. Of those that do, they tend to be bladed weapons, knives, box cutters, and razor blades. And then at the same time, we have seen, particularly post-COVID, an uptick in guns in schools as well. The key number one way we find out about weapons, plots, and kids that are going to cause harm to themselves and others is when a kid comes forward and tells an adult that they trust. Somebody reporting it, maybe somebody else in the family. And while it's hard to put your hands around that like you could a weapons detector or some more cameras and everything, it's the relationships and connectedness, because kids will talk if they know that an adult's going to follow through. So you'll see something and say something, and I throw one more on there, train people how to do something once somebody tells.
There is a controversy here. The big school district here where this school was the Phoenix Union High School District. There are some members of the school board that are against more school resource officers on campuses. Is there an advantage to having a school resource officer on a campus to develop that relationship you're talking about?
Absolutely. What we're seeing around the country is that a number of schools, not many, not even most, but some schools after the George Floyd murder, decided to pull police officers out for social and philosophical and political reasons. And what's coming back around is there's a good deal of buyer's remorse on those decisions. A number of school districts are trying to get the officers back in, and it's hard to get that genie back in the bottle because officer shortages, the conflict and distrust and tension that was built by putting them out in the first place, trying to solve to deal with the political context of this and please everyone. The reality is a good, properly run school resource officer program, an officer in schools with the right officer who wants to work with kids is a prevention tool. They build more relationships. A lot of them coach. They're involved in, but there's still the liaison between the police department and schools. 3 jobs for a school resource officer. The triad model, it's called, has been established for decades. Number 1, law enforcement officer. If a crime occurs, we enforce the law and you don't apologize for that. But you do that by working where administrators handle the discipline, the routine stuff, and let the police then get involved when there's a crime. Second point on that is a counselor. Not like your guidance counselor, your college counselor, but a street-related counselor, if you will. Somebody to build connections with the kids. Kids go to them and talk about abuse at home, gang problems, issues that are going to come into the schools, weapons, suicidology, those type of challenges. And then a third part's law-related educator, going into classes and talking with kids, prom safety, date rape issues, so cybersecurity. And with the properly designed model and the right officer, because not every officer is the right one to work in schools. Some of your best police officers on the street that work guns, SWATs, narcotics, the toughest jobs, may not be the right person. But there are many good officers who can build those relationships, want to work with kids, and it could be a great prevention program.
What's the one thing every parent has to know about sending their kids to school?
Parents need to know that the vast majority of schools are safe, will not experience a school shooting. However, talk to your kids. Kids know the weak points, the vulnerabilities, the concerns, the safety issues, and then know how to get that information back and forth to your school officials, your school resource officers, so you have that dialogue and communication. Most of all, kids need to know that there's a trusting adult they can come to at home and in the school to talk with them if they see concern and have something to report.
Ken, I appreciate the time and the expertise. This is a lot of parents are focusing on this, and I thank you for your help.
Yeah, great to be with you anytime. Thanks, Mike.
We'll be back. Coming up, the measles outbreak continues to grow in Arizona. Why are the measles becoming an issue again, and what are the best ways to mitigate its spread? Find out when Broomhead returns. Measles outbreak across the country, and Arizona is not immune to it. Joining us is Will Humble, Executive Director, Arizona Public Health Association. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, good choice of words. Arizona's not immune to it.
Well, yeah, see? A little play on words.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the serious cases. You were just mentioning to me before we did this, Colorado City, major outbreak. Why?
It's profoundly unvaccinated. So if you look at there's a public school up there, practically none of the kids are vaccinated there. Most of the kids are homeschooled. So we don't know whether they're vaccinated or not. Vaccines, by the way, are not something that's generally reportable. So you have to use school immunization records as an estimate of what the vaccination rates are. So that outbreak up there has really spread into a few families, many of which have several siblings. And once measles, by the way, is in a house of susceptible kids, one kid gets it, they're guaranteed the rest of them to get it. It's really contagious.
So let's talk about the more common areas where vaccinations are more prevalent. What do people in Maricopa County, Pinal County, where there are a larger numbers of vaccinated people, what do they watch out for and what do they need to be concerned about?
Well, the number one thing is if you're a parent and you've vaccinated your kids, you got absolutely nothing to worry about. There's really nothing to worry about. It's a very good vaccine. works almost 100% of the time if you've been through the entire series. The series starts when they're 2 years old, sometimes 1 year old. So for vaccinated kids, it's really business as usual, even if there's a measles case in the classroom. For parents who've chosen not to vaccinate their kids, it is something to be increasingly concerned about. Now, we don't have any cases, to my knowledge, in Maricopa County right now or Pima County. There had been some earlier this year up in Navajo County, maybe it was Apache County, and of course, Colorado City right now. So the thing is, once measles gets a toehold, all it's really doing is looking for another susceptible host to reproduce itself. And so if you've got high vaccination rates in a school, there's really nothing to worry about. It's the parents who haven't vaccinated their kids that need to start thinking, is this something I want to do because there isn't the level of community protection that there used to be when we had high vaccination rates.
So if the parent that hasn't had their child vaccinated against measles at the 1 or 2 year old can you still get started on the treatment
Sure.
at any time?
Yeah, no problem. We start them as soon as the vaccine, we know that it's going to work. And so like hepatitis B, the kids get the vaccine at birth. I don't know if you had kids, that's the vaccine they got at birth. You don't start measles until they're 1 or 2 because that's when the immune system is mature enough to build the antibodies that they're going to need to have that lifetime immunity.
You had mentioned to me a disparity in the school system itself, from public schools to charter schools to private schools. What is the disparity and what should parents know?
Yeah, so public schools generally have pretty good vaccination rates. Charter schools have several percentage lower vaccination rates, and private schools even less than that. My theory on that is that the kinds of parents that would choose a charter school are more inclined to also not vaccinate their kids. I don't know the reason why, but that cohort seems to decide not to vaccinate their kids as much. There's also a big geographic difference in Arizona. So you look at Pima and Santa Cruz counties, they've got great vaccination rates. You start looking at Maricopa County, which is such a huge county, it's really hard to really say, but it's hit and miss. You go to Yavapai and Mojave County, and the vaccination rates are much lower.
How concerned should parents be about children, or even adults, but contracting measles? What are the dangers?
Well, if the kid's unvaccinated, the unvaccinated kid, about 1 in 20 kids who get the virus and get sick with the virus will end up being hospitalized. It's lethal, about 1 in 300 cases. So that's why I'm 65. I had measles when I was 2. My mom continues to this day in her 90s to talk about how scared she was that night. I had 105-degree fever. I was hallucinating, she says. And so it's a really scary disease. Anything that causes pneumonia and potential death, I mean, that's a pretty serious illness. It's among the more serious of the childhood illnesses.
I always appreciate your expertise. We've been talking, it seems like you and I have been talking about these vaccines for a very long time with good reason, but this is one that I wanted to get information out, so I appreciate your expertise on it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Take
I
care.
appreciate the time. We'll be back. Coming up, could mail-in voting be banned? Arizona Secretary of State joins us to talk about the possible changes coming to the 2026 election after the break. Here's a look at some upcoming events that should be on your radar. First up, Movies Under the Stars happening Wednesdays at the Thunderbird Lounge. The movies start at 8 p.m. every week. A reservation is required. This event is for those 21 and older. Then it's Gold Rush Music Festival happening September 12th and 13th at Rawhide Western Town and Event Center. Tickets are still available for both days of the festival. All right, early voting. Believe it or not, we're already talking election season. Joining us, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes. Thanks for doing this.
Happy to be here.
All right, let's establish something. Do we both agree that mail-in voting in Arizona is not going anywhere?
Yes.
So it's not leaving. There's not going to be a movement. No matter what executive order is signed, it's staying.
That's correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
so let's
We can talk about why, but I think we've all seen the arguments why, and it'll eventually work out in the courts.
Okay, so then let's talk about things we can do to make elections faster, so results faster.
Why?
Without compromising security.
Okay.
We want faster results, don't you?
You are talking about network predictions. The results are already really fast. They are two separate things.
But I'm talking about Arizona lagging behind a lot of the country with our
And
results.
network predictions. That's what you get on election night. You don't get results on election night.
But how long did it take for Arizona to verify its ballots?
Probably, well, less time than it took Utah, Florida, Texas, California, and et cetera. What you're talking about and what people misunderstand is on election night, nobody gets real results.
Right.
They get network predictions.
But how
So
long-
slow your roll, and let's talk about it correctly. You want results? You got to come after the network predictions and go to real official results.
So do you think
on
we
the network
count
predictions? You're talking about the networks. Talk to them.
Do
Don't
we
change the
count-
law to
do
mess with
you-
voters.
Do we count? So let me then ask you this: do we count ballots fast enough for your liking in Arizona?
No, we could do a little faster.
Okay.
But there's a lot of space for improvement. But let's not confuse network predictions on election
Right.
night with actual results.
So then let's talk about how you make it faster. We were just talking about this. I vote on Friday because Tuesday's a busy day for me. I go down, I show them my ID, my voter registration card, they verify I'm that voter, they print out my ballot.
Sure.
Then it ends up in an early envelope
Right.
to be re-verified later as a late early.
That's right.
Is there a way, or should we, make that a little more streamlined?
Sure, if you want to show your ID, some of the folks have talked about putting a stamp on it saying that we've verified the ID. It might skip the signature verification process. But the fact that we've got these redundant systems comes from people making rules who don't understand the process in the first place. And they listen to all these folks yelling and screaming over here about you have to have voter ID. Well, yes, I think voter ID is okay on election day. But if you're voting early and you're signing that envelope, just like the person that's mailing it in, you've already got that security system that's solid. It's good to go.
I agree.
Arizonans love it. So why during early voting do you need to show your ID is your question.
When I'm going, but if I do, which I have to do,
Okay.
why can't it be verified that I've already proven I'm the voter without that extra step?
Because the people that make the rules don't pay attention to how the systems work securely already, and they're making crazy rules.
Would it be a better way to do it if, not better, a faster way of doing it if I went through that process on Friday, and then if it's not tabulated there, but it's already set to go into a machine without the verification?
Here's there's an underlying assumption that we have to do it faster. That's not real. Network predictions on election night are not real results. No state gives you real results on election. That doesn't
I
exist.
get that.
But that's the underlying assumption of what you're talking about here. You're asking me, how do we do it faster? I want to do it more securely and more accurately. I don't necessarily want it to be faster. I want it to be right. And that's the difference. When
We
you
all want it to
understand,
be. Can't we do both? Can't we do it faster?
it'll cost you a huge ton of money. You can have it fast, you can have it accurate, and you can have it cheap. But you can't have all three. You only get two. You can have it fast and expensive, but you're going to lose accuracy. You can have it fast and you can only have two of those three. So let's just kind of cool the temperature here and ask ourselves, what do we really want? What's our priority here? Our priority is to continue to develop, bit at a time, by data-driven decisions, how we run our elections.
All right.
We want it better.
All
But
right.
there's people that are screaming about results on election night. They simply don't understand.
I get it.
Those come from networks. Those aren't official results. Remember Cinema McSally?
Yes.
Remember the lead flipped back
do.
and forth and back and forth? Guess what? That was what the networks were predicting. That wasn't results. There was no shenanigans.
But
It's
we
just,
do know-
We reported these numbers. Oh, we got more to count. Yep, report those numbers. Okay, more to count. Report. And then eventually we had official results. That's the official results. But you want network predictions faster? Talk to the networks.
But you oversee elections, and I'm asking you as the expert that oversees elections, isn't there a way to get accuracy more quickly?
Yes, and it's much more expensive than the state of Arizona is willing to spend money on.
Would it be worthwhile, in your opinion, to spend that money?
Yeah, if we want to, if that's a priority. But we're going to have to find the money somewhere. What are you going to cut? What are you going to cut? Or are you going to raise revenue to make this happen? This is what leadership is about. We have to figure these things out. But when people who are basing their justifications on mythologies and conspiracy theories and, oh, this is all screwed up, and just being, and they're not being sane and careful and data-driven in their decision-making, they're going to make up crazy rules.
All right.
We
listen,
don't need that.
We're out of time. This is why I love this conversation. We will continue it, I'm sure, in a future date. We'll be back. Every Sunday here on Broomhead, we ask a new poll question. This week's question is, do you believe there is a solution to solve school safety issues across the U.S.? All you have to do is head over to cw7az.com/Broomhead to respond to the poll question. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next Sunday on Broomhead.